So it's been about 8 months since the launch of the iPhone 16 Pro Max, and this has been my daily driver for pretty much every single task. From personal use to business use, pretty much an all-rounder device for my everyday workflow. And in this video today, I wanted to share my long-term experience with the iPhone 16 Pro Max to see maybe if you guys are in the market for one, if it's any good. Before we continue with this video, make sure to drop a like and a comment below to boost the algorithm, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and let's get started. So the first thing I want to talk about is the overall cosmetic condition. So I have been using this every day, and I gotta admit that I'm not necessarily the most careful user. You know, I've been dropping it everywhere, I've been slamming it into things. I don't really care if this thing is dinged up or anything, but the overall condition of this phone is pretty much mint. I don't have any cracks or scratches on here, no dents. Maybe a tiny little nick on the edge over here, but that's pretty much about it. This would pretty much pass as an A+ or like 9 out of 10 condition. And that's also a testament to Apple's quality and how well they built this phone. This thing is made out of titanium, which is extremely strong. And retaining the physical condition of your phone is also very important when it comes to value retention. You know, one day you're either gonna trade it in or sell it or upgrade to another phone. So if you're able to keep the condition of the phone pretty much looking pristine, you know, throughout your ownership, you are gonna retain a lot of value. So that means you're gonna get a higher trade-in value, or if you're gonna sell it privately, you're gonna get a lot more money for it. So that means you have to take really good care of your phone long term. And a great way to do that is to get a high quality phone case. And thanks to our sponsor Banks, they provided us with the Armor Pro case with Kevlar along with their matching MagSafe phone grip.
So the product comes in these nicely packaged boxes, and the backside also shows all of the specs like the Kevlar material. And opening up the box, we have the case for the iPhone 16 Pro Max. And I gotta say, I really like the design of this case. It has a nice sort of carbon fiber print on it. And on the inside, you can see that this is MagSafe compatible with the ring. And it also features the built-in Kevlar logo on the bottom. And just holding the case in my hand, I can tell how strong and rigid this case is. So it's definitely going to add a lot of protection in the event that you drop it. Now the case snaps onto the phone seamlessly, and all of the cutouts and buttons line up perfectly. There is a nice tactile feel as well if that's what you're into. And just holding it in my hand feels fairly comfortable. It's not overly bulky or heavy. Now moving over to the magnetic phone grip, it does feature the same sort of carbon fiber design. And what this is going to enable you to do is to add a little bit more functionality to your phone. It has a little ring on the back that you can open up to either prop your phone up vertically or horizontally, along with a retracting mechanism in the middle, kind of acting like a pop socket. So essentially what this can be used for is to slide your finger through it, giving you a little bit of extra grip when you hold your phone. Overall, I gotta say the quality of these accessories are absolutely top notch. Not only are they super strong and protective, but they also look fairly sleek. If you guys are interested in picking up your own Banks accessories, you can use the code Richard15 for 15% off your purchase.
So if you guys want to check them out, there will be a link in the description below. Not only is their product super high quality, but also affordable. Next, I want to talk about the features that are exclusive to the iPhone 16 lineup. Now, let's be real here. There's really not much more that is added to the 16th generation. The only difference is you get this extra camera control button on the side. And to be honest, it's not really all that special. Now, in my initial review of the iPhone 16 and 16 Pros, I kind of talked badly about it, saying it's kind of useless. It gets in a way and you would mistakenly touch it. But as I've gotten used to the phone, I notice it's not too much of a nuisance. I still don't really use it very often. I pretty much never use it. And I don't know if there's any software changes that Apple has implemented, because I notice it's not as sensitive to activate anymore. In the beginning, I would mistakenly touch it and activate the camera way too many times. A feature that I do really like that was introduced in the iPhone 15 and up is the action button. So this one you can program to pretty much any command that you want. And I found it to be a lot more useful compared to the even older generations using the mute switch that flicks back and forth. I think the action button is the most game-changing feature of this phone, along with the iPhone 15 lineup. I think it just adds a lot more control and a lot more usability with the phone. So if you are someone who's using an older generation phone like a 14 and lower, this is definitely something that is worth the upgrade. Now in terms of the performance, I gotta say no complaints whatsoever. This is the fastest iPhone that has ever been created. You can pretty much throw anything at this phone. You can, have multiple applications open at once. Everything's still gonna run extremely smooth. You can be gaming on here. And additionally, the iPhone 16 Pro Max does get a larger display compared to the previous models. The physical form factor hasn't really changed. This size is the same as it always has been, but more so the borders have become extremely slim. It just makes your overall viewing experience so much better. You can have a lot more screen real estate, which for me was definitely worth the upgrade. Now, the one complaint I do have about the ProMotion display is that you're not running at 120 Hz 24/7. If you're gonna be running something intensive, a lot of action, a lot of gaming, then of course you're gonna be using that higher refresh. But if you're just web browsing, going on social media, or reading an article, the refresh rate does drop significantly to the single digits. Now, it might not be that big of a deal, if you're just reading something, why do you need 120 Hz? but it's more so when you start to use it again, when you start to navigate again. And that could kind of create some choppiness, you know, when you're navigating around the screen, if you're at an idle and then you start touching it again. It feels like the phone kind of fell asleep for a second and then it kind of woke back up again. So I would hope that in the future that Apple can improve that, whether via software to reduce the latency, or if they can just lock it at 120 hertz 24/7, that would be a lot better. But of course, that whole promotion and the adaptive refresh is there mainly to save battery life. Now, to expand on the battery life, I gotta say this thing can last a whole entire day. The battery life is absolutely insane. And for using it for about 8 months, the battery health is still at 100%. That is pretty insane. I've always been an Apple user, I've always been an iOS user, and a lot of my previous phones, after using it for about a year, I would see the battery health drop significantly down to like 80 to 90%. So it really seems like Apple has improved their battery system and their battery management system in here to really retain the health of it. And if you guys want to further enhance the battery life on here, I would definitely turn on the optimized battery charging in the settings along with the clean energy charging. That way, if you're going to keep your phone plugged in overnight, it's not going to overcharge and damage the battery. The system is smart enough to know when to stop charging or to slow down the charging speed. It kind of is adaptive as well. So another thing I want to talk about is value. And if you've been following this channel for a while, I always talk about value retention, how to get the best deals, and that is something that I focused on this phone as well. So this is still currently the latest and greatest phone. You know, the iPhone 17 is going to come out later this year, but the 16 Pro Max is still selling for its retail price of a minimum of $1,100. So that is not cheap. And if you are someone in the market for a new phone at this current time, I don't know if I can recommend this phone for that price, especially because the iPhone 17 is just right around the corner. It's probably going to cost just as much as this right now. But if you are eager to get a phone like now or anytime soon, I might actually suggest getting a pre-owned or refurb iPhone 15 Pro Max instead. Those are going for around $600 to $700, and it pretty much offers 99% of what the iPhone 16 Pro Max does. You are going to be missing the camera control button on the side, which, to be honest, doesn't really make a difference. You also get the ultra slim bezels, not as slim as a 16 Pro Max, but slim enough where you can really feel the large screen. So if you are in it for value, if you want to get a new phone but you don't want to overspend, I think that this phone is a little bit expensive for what it is in this current market. And on top of that, if you were to buy one of these right now and then the 17s drop, this is going to take a huge depreciation hit, like right off the bat. There's nothing specific about the 16 Pro Max that I especially love that's so extraordinary and, you know, special to this phone. It just works, and that's what I like about it. You know, it's reliable, it's fast, it gets everything done. And honestly, I don't really see myself upgrading this at all if I don't really have to. So that is what I think of the iPhone 16 Pro Max and its long-term use. So let me know in the comment section below what you think. Is this something that you would consider in 2025? Or would you rather wait for the new 17s? Or would you actually go back a generation and save a little bit of money? So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hopefully you found it helpful and interesting. With that being said, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.